Welcome to the Deconstructionist Deep Dive.
The podcast that doesn't just accept the story.
We break it
We examine the pieces.
and expose the machinery inside.
Let's dive in.
What if everything about out-of-body experiences, the white light at the end of the tunnel, and the soul's supposed return home isn't just wrong, but is, actively designed to be wrong?
That is the question, isn't it? It's the one that keeps you up at night. That little itch in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Because we are told, constantly, by every spiritual teacher, every text, pretty much every influencer, that there's a path, a school, a learning process.
Right. Earth is a school. We hear that all the time.
But today, we're looking at a fascinating analysis, specifically a deconstruction of what's called the Darius Wright material, and it suggests something far more sinister.
Okay, sinister is a heavy word. Let's be fair. Most people find a lot of comfort in that idea of a school of life.
Oh, for sure.
It gives meaning to all the chaos. It tells us that the suffering actually has a point. So are we sure we aren't just, being too cynical here?
Yeah.
Why jump straight to trap and not just a really, really hard class?
Well, that comfort is exactly the thing we have to put under the microscope.
Okay.
The material we're diving into today argues that the comfort is the paint on the bars of the cage. We are not talking about a school for souls. We're talking about a prison. Or maybe a farm.
A farm.
And the really scary part of this analysis is the idea that the walls of this prison are painted to look like infinite, beautiful freedom. Today, we are deconstructing what this material calls the soul trap and its 15 nodes of spiritual confinement.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because if I'm listening to this right now, and I've spent the last, say, 10 years meditating, doing yoga, trying to raise my vibration, reading all the books on near-death experiences, you're basically telling me I've been diligently reading the employee handbook for a prison I didn't even know I was in.
In essence, yes. And this isn't about, government conspiracies or aliens in the traditional sense. This is about metaphysical architecture.
Metaphysical architecture. I like that.
The source material lays out this taxonomy, this whole classification system of how consciousness is contained. It argues that reality is a system built on 4 pillars: axioms, levers, lures, and commands. And they're all designed to do one thing.
Which is harvest.
Energy.
Harvest. Energy. Okay, so we're talking the Matrix, but without the cool sunglasses and leather trench coats.
Something like that.
So the whole premise is that we're, batteries?
Not quite batteries. The analysis suggests it's more like livestock. But livestock that produces a very specific, very valuable commodity, emotional and spiritual energy.
Moosh. I've heard that term.
Exactly.
Good.
So we're going to break this down node by node. We're going to look at what it calls the downward spiral that reinforces our dependency on this system. Because when you really look at this material, it suggests that what many of us call spiritual enlightenment might just be a compliance manual for the model inmate.
That is a terrifying inversion of everything. But I have to ask the big question. Why does it work? If it is a prison, why don't we see the bars? Why doesn't it feel like a cell?
Because the system is brilliant. It's designed to mimic biological structures. It's made to look like DNA. It's built to feel like the brain.
Yeah.
It feels natural because it's leveraging our own biology right back at us.
Wow. Okay. So where do we start?
We have to start with the foundation, the blueprint of the prison. We need to talk about the axioms.
Right, the axiom. So these are the foundational beliefs, the things we just accept as true without ever really questioning them, the bedrock of a lot of New Age thought, and even some traditional religions.
And looking at this list of nodes, the one that sits right at the top, node 2, is a huge one. It's what the analysis calls the dictator soul, or the illusion of sovereignty.
This is the big one.
This is where we have to start, and it's a really tough pill to swallow because, it feels so good to believe it. It's the idea that your soul is the creator, the absolute dictator of its own reality.
You hear it everywhere. You create your own reality.
You are the universe experiencing itself. It anchors this massive, and I would argue, false sense of personal control.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. Isn't that empowering? If I believe I'm the creator of my reality, doesn't that make me take responsibility for my life? It stops me from playing the victim. So how can taking responsibility be a trap?
And that's the hook. It feels empowering. That's the bait. But let's apply the scalpel of logic here, just for a moment. If node 2 is a core axiom of the prison, then it has to be a lie designed to keep you compliant.
Okay.
So let's test it. If we are sovereign creators, if you, listening right now, are the absolute unchallenged dictator of your reality, why is there decay?
What do you mean?
Why is there entropy? Things fall apart.
Well, yeah. That's just physics. That's how the world works.
Exactly. But if you were the god of your own universe, would you choose to age? Would you script knee pain into your reality? Would you choose for the people you love to get sick and die?
No, of course not. I'd choose to be 25 forever on a beach somewhere with, I don't know, an infinite supply of tacos.
Right, so the fact that you absolutely cannot choose that proves that you are not the sovereign dictator of this physical reality. The source material makes a brutal critique here. This sovereignty is directly and constantly contradicted by the simple reality of entropy. It's a profound illusion of control.
And by telling the prisoner,
Yeah.
hey, you built this jail yourself, you wanted this.
It completely neutralizes any impulse to rebel. Because who rebels against themselves?
That is, wow. Okay, that's a heavy hit. It's the ultimate form of gaslighting. It's like the old playground bully trick of taking your own hand and slapping you with it while saying, stop hitting yourself.
And this isn't a new idea. Not really, even though the New Age branding is fresh. If we cross-reference this with, say, the Gnostics, they had a very specific and very different view on this.
Okay, refresh my memory on the Gnostics. We hear the term a lot, but
Yeah.
what was their actual take on the whole creator situation?
So the Gnostics were these early Christian mystics who were, eventually hunted down as heretics. And they did not believe the human soul created this world. Not at all.
Okay.
They believed the true God, the real source, was totally remote, completely transcendent, and that this world, the material world we're in, was created by something they called the demiurge.
The demiurge.
A blind, ignorant, arrogant craftsman who thought he was the one true God but was actually just a jailer, a fraud.
So in the Gnostic view, the creator of this reality was actually the bad guy.
Precisely. The Gnostic worldview is that the creator of this place is a warden, and you are a hostage, a divine spark of true light that has been trapped in this false material creation.
But no, too, this soul sovereignty trap, it flips that completely on its head. It tells the hostage, oh, no, there is no jailer. You're the jailer. You did all this to yourself.
Which just keeps you running in circles. Instead of trying to figure out how to pick the lock on the cell door, you're standing in the middle of the room chanting affirmations, trying to manifest a hole in the wall.
And you're failing. And then you're blaming yourself for failing. Oh, my vibration must have been too low. I didn't manifest hard enough.
It brilliantly turns the inmate into their own warden.
And that just feeds perfectly into the next axiom, doesn't it? Because if I believe I'm this all-powerful creator, but my life is still full of suffering, I need a reason. I need a justification for why I would choose to get sick or lose my job or get my heart broken.
And the system has the perfect answer for that.
Node 3, the opposites trap.
Yes. What I like to call the suffering justification. This is the axiom that says the universe is a construct of duality, of opposites, specifically designed for something called love comprehension.
This is the old you can't know the light without the dark argument.
Exactly. You can't appreciate joy without experiencing pain.
Right.
It tells the prisoner that the bars of the cage are actually there for their own good, that all this suffering is just a sophisticated mechanism for spiritual growth.
I gotta say, I really struggle with this one. Because on the surface, it sounds so deep and wise. The contrast makes the picture beautiful. But if you really look at it logically, do I need to get hit by a car to understand the simple pleasure of sitting on a comfortable couch?
The analysis in the source material argues emphatically, no, you do not.
I don't need to eat a handful of mud to know that a fresh strawberry tastes good. I can just eat the strawberry and go, wow, this is amazing.
It's a completely false dichotomy, but it is incredibly effective as a control mechanism. If you believe that suffering is not just inevitable but necessary for growth, or specifically to understand love, then you become complicit in your own torture.
You stop fighting it.
You endure it because you think there's a cosmic payoff. You tell yourself, I'm learning a valuable lesson here.
But are you? Or are you just being traumatized and then forced to rationalize it after the fact?
That is the core question. And the source material, interestingly, connects this to anarcho-primitivism.
Okay, break that down for me. Anarcho-primitivism sounds like, what, people living in cabins in the woods?
In a way, yeah, it's a deep anti-civilizational critique. Anarcho-primitivism argues that this obsession we have with duality isn't some cosmic law. It's a byproduct of a civilized, hierarchical, and frankly, unnatural structure. In unmediated nature, things just are. A lion doesn't eat a gazelle to teach the gazelle a profound spiritual lesson about the nature of duality.
Yeah.
It just eats because it's hungry. There's no moral overlay. There's no lesson.
The gazelle is not thinking, thank you, Mr. Lion, for helping me understand the impermanence of physical form. The gazelle is thinking, run in.
Exactly. We seem to be the only species that gaslights itself into believing our pain is a curriculum.
And you know who else had a different take? The Stoics. They had a very different view than this new age opposites for growth model. The Stoics practiced endurance, absolutely. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, these were not weak men.
Yeah.
But they didn't have this teleology.
Right. Teleology meaning a purpose or an end goal. The Stoics never said, this terrible thing is happening to teach me a secret lesson about cosmic love. They said, this terrible thing is happening. I will endure it because I have no other choice, and I will maintain my virtue and dignity while I do, but I will not assign it a false holy purpose.
And that's the key distinction. Node 3 forces you, it compels you, to assign a holy purpose to your pain. And the moment you do that, you stop trying to remove the source of the pain.
You sanctify the abuse.
Thank you, universe, for this devastating bankruptcy. I'm learning so much. And all the while, the system is just feeding on your stress and despair.
Okay, moving deeper into this blueprint, we hit node 6. And the blueprint just wouldn't be complete without the concept of free will. But this analysis, it calls it the free will myth. Specifically, free will as unlimited, non-judged expression.
Whoa, hold on. Are we saying free will doesn't exist at all? Because if I don't have free will, then I'm just a robot, and we might as well just turn off the mics and go home.
It's not that will doesn't exist. It's that the specific brand of free will we are sold is a complete deception. It's designed to mask the very real hierarchies and constraints. The source calls it simulated autonomy.
Simulated autonomy. Okay, I get that. It's like a video game. An open-world RPG. You feel like you have total freedom. You can run anywhere on the map, customize your character's hair, choose to be a mage or a warrior. You feel like you have free will. But you can't fly if the game's code doesn't let you fly. You can't just walk through walls. You can't kill the essential characters that drive the plot forward. You're free, but only within the box the programmers design.
Precisely. If free will were truly unlimited, as Node 6 and a lot of New Age philosophy suggests, why are there laws of physics? Why are there biological limits? Why do you need to sleep? Why can't you just decide to not have cancer?
Right.
This axiom exists for one reason, to make the inmate blame themselves for the prison conditions.
Of course. If I believe I am totally and completely free, then my inability to levitate isn't a fundamental constraint of the system. It's a personal failure on my part.
I'm just not spiritual enough yet. My frequency isn't high enough.
It's malicious. It is designed to set you up for failure, so that you generate all this negative energy frustration, self-loathing, inadequacy, which, according to this theory, is exactly what the system feeds on. It needs you to believe you're free, so that when you inevitably hit the wall, you blame your own face for the impact.
So we've got the axioms. You are the dictator of your reality, but you're not. You need pain in order to grow, but you don't. And you are totally free, but only within a cage.
These are the invisible walls. Okay, now let's look at the shiny objects they hang on those walls to keep us distracted. Let's move to segment 2, the machinery of distraction.
This is where we get into what the analysis calls bafflements and commands. And we have to start with the one that trips up so many sincere spiritual seekers, the one that keeps the whole mystery alive, Node 1, the OBE mirage.
OBEs, out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
Oh boy. We are going to make some enemies with this one. This is a sacred cow for a lot of people.
I know.
For millions of people, an OBE is the ultimate proof. It's the smoking gun. I left my body. I saw the room from the ceiling. Therefore, I am not my body. It's seen as proof of our divinity, a way to access nonlinear time and true reality.
And it feels that way. It feels profoundly real. But this deconstruction classifies it as a bafflement. It creates something called awe dependency.
Awe dependency. That's a powerful term.
Think about it this way. If you're stuck in a prison cell and someone hands you a VR headset that shows you a beautiful, pristine beach in Tahiti for just 5 minutes, what happens when you take the headset off?
You want to go back. Desperately. You hate the cell even more than you did before, but you become obsessed with getting that headset again.
Precisely. You start plotting a prison break. You start plotting how to get more battery time for the VR headset. You come back to your cell and tell everyone, wow, the real world is so beautiful, but you are still in the cell. In fact, you're now addicted to the very thing that makes the cell tolerable.
You chase the high of the exit without ever actually exiting. But people swear these experiences are real. They say they feel more real than real. We can't just dismiss them as, a vivid dream.
You're right, they feel hyper-real. We can't dismiss the experience, but we have to look at the biology. And the analysis points directly to the angular gyrus.
The angular gyrus. Okay, you got to break that down. I'm not a neuroscientist.
It's a specific region in the brain. It's involved in processing language, numbers, spatial awareness. But here's the absolute kicker.
Okay.
When neuroscientists stimulate that exact part of the brain with a tiny electrode, a purely mechanical physical stimulation, the patient reports feeling like they are floating near the ceiling. They report seeing their own body from above.
So you can induce a spiritual experience with a zap.
Yes. And it correlates heavily with things like sleep paralysis, too.
Uh-huh.
We have known biological mechanisms that can trigger this exact experience. It might be a fascinating glitch in our cognitive hardware, not necessarily a portal to heaven.
But the narrative, the story we're told, is that it's a spiritual exit.
And that interpretation serves the system perfectly. From a narrative perspective, it creates an elite access hierarchy. Oh, I can astral project, so I must be more spiritually advanced.
Right.
Instead of focusing on dismantling the illusion of the prison itself, people spend entire lifetimes chasing the temporary high of leaving their body for a few minutes.
It's the ultimate distraction. You aren't trying to break the lock. You're just obsessing over looking out the window for a little while.
And you can contrast this with a philosophy like Advaita Vedanta.
Okay, so for listeners who might not be up on their Eastern philosophy, Advaita basically means not to.
Yeah.
It's all about non-duality.
Exactly. Advaita teaches that there is no separation to begin with, so there's no where to go. The exit isn't up there or out there. The exit is here. It's about immediacy. You don't need to ascend through realms or leave your body to be free, because the body and the world are just projections of consciousness anyway. Chasing an OBE is just chasing a prettier projection.
You know, the Gnostics had a similar critique of this idea of ascent, didn't they?
They did. The Gnostics had this warning that when you ascend through the heavens after you die, you aren't meeting angels. You're actually passing through the realms of the archons, the jailers. Each layer of heaven is another checkpoint. It's not a path to freedom. It's running the gauntlet.
Speaking of running gauntlets and layers, that brings us to Node 5, the math of confusion. This is the whole concept of there being 12 or 13 heavens or realms that are often said to be mirrored in our DNA strands.
This is pure numerical bafflement. It is hierarchical obscurity designed from the ground up to make the system seem incredibly complex and profound.
I see this on spiritual forums all the time, people saying things like, oh, you're only in the 4th dimension. Well, I'm working on my 12-strand DNA activation so I can access the 9th realm. Sounds like a leveling up system in a video game.
And that is the trap. It's busy work for the soul. It keeps you occupied. If you're busy trying to activate these supposed ghost strands of DNA, you are not looking at the fundamental nature of your confinement.
And what about the science?
It's complete word salad. I've looked for the biological basis on this. There's no empirical evidence whatsoever that we have 12 strands of DNA floating around in the ether. DNA is a physical chemical molecule. There is absolutely no known biological linkage between the structure of a DNA strand and some dimensional realm. It's pure pseudoscience used to dazzle the intellect.
It hides the fundamental emptiness of the cage. If you make the cage look like some kind of hyper-complex, multi-dimensional tesseract, people will spend their lives studying the geometry instead of realizing they're trapped.
Now let's look at the commands. These are things the system tells us to actively do or focus on. Let's talk about Node 9, the heart as a toroidal field or stargate.
Oh yeah, we hear this one constantly. Get out of your head and get into your heart. The heart generates a powerful toroidal field that creates your reality.
And the analysis calls this a command, a very specific directive to focus internally on a biological function that it doesn't exist as described. But wait, you might say.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, the heart does generate an electromagnetic field. That's been measured. The Heart Math Institute has a ton of data on this.
It generates a field, yes, but a relatively weak one. The brain's electrical field is orders of magnitude more complex and powerful when it comes to processing information and navigating reality. But the narrative is always to shut down the brain, your primary analytical tool, and focus on the heart.
Don't think, feel.
Precisely. By telling people to focus on their heart as some kind of stargate, it brilliantly diverts any rebellious energy into navel-gazing. Instead of analyzing the bars of the cage, you're looking at your own chest. It's a way to neutralize critical thinking. If you stop thinking, you stop seeing the logical gaps in the prison's design.
And then there's the other big distraction, Node 12, suppressed ancient knowledge. This is pyramids, 369 frequencies, Tesla's secrets, all that stuff. And I have to admit, I love this stuff. The idea that there's a secret code to unlock everything is so appealing.
We all love them. The analysis calls them knowledge enigmas. They appeal directly to our innate curiosity. We get to feel like Indiana Jones, uncovering some long-lost truth.
But you're saying it's just another distraction layer?
The source calls it stasis via anticipation. You are kept in a state of stasis because you are always anticipating the next big secret that will save you.
If I can just understand the exact resonance of the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, I'll unlock my divinity.
If I can just listen to this 432 hertz audio track for long enough, I'll be free. And all the while you're still in the prison, you're just a prisoner who's taken up archaeology as a hobby.
And when you look at the actual data, I mean, yeah, the acoustics of the pyramids are fascinating. I think the King's Chamber resonates at around 117 hertz, which is known to alter consciousness states. But the narrative that these things are the key to our soul's freedom, it just lacks any real proofs. It keeps you looking backward at dusty relics instead of forward at the exit door.
So we've got the axioms that define our reality and the distractions that keep our minds busy and entertained. But what keeps us emotionally invested? Why do we care so much? That brings us to the next part. Segment 3. The emotional harvest. The levers.
The levers, I like that word. It implies mechanics. You pull a lever, you get a predictable reaction. In this case, the reaction is a harvest of energy.
And the system utilizes 3 main ones: hope, fear, and guilt.
And the most controversial lever of all, and I know people are going to recoil when they hear this, is Node 7, love as a weapon. Specifically, unconditional love as the core frequency of the universe.
I can literally hear people yelling at their speakers right now. What are you talking about? Love is the answer. How can love possibly be a weapon?
That sounds like total blasphemy.
Yeah.
But let's hear the argument. The analysis defines this as an emotional lever because, within this dualistic system, it requires opposition in order to exist.
Go back to Node 3, the opposites trap. In this framework, you cannot have love without the concept of lack of love or fear. By positioning unconditional love as this ultimate goal that must be achieved, the system creates what it calls euphoric dependency.
It's the ultimate carrot. You chase the high of that feeling of love. You meditate for hours just to feel that bliss for a few minutes. But by the very act of chasing it, you bind yourself tighter to the duality that created it. You are implicitly admitting that you lack it in your natural default state.
Let's use that primitivist cross-reference again. In raw, unmediated survival, in nature, is unconditional love a thing?
In nature, absolutely not. In nature, love is a practical tool. A mother bear loves her cubs with a fierce protective love because it ensures the survival of her genes. It's practical. It's targeted. It's not this floaty, cosmic, I love everything equally vibe.
Exactly. The cosmic love narrative is seductive because it can get you to accept anything, including your own imprisonment. Oh, I love my jailer because we are all one. I love this cancer because it's a great teacher.
It's a pacification strategy.
If you truly love the parasite that's feeding on you, you'll never try to remove it.
It's essentially spiritual anesthesia.
Now let's flip the coin over to the other big lever, Node 10. Fear. The axiom here is fear as a self-imposed prison.
And there's the gaslight again. The system tells you, if you are afraid, it's not because you're in a dangerous situation. It's because you are projecting a hellish reality with your low vibrational thoughts.
Which immediately creates a guilt trigger. You feel fear, which, by the way, is a perfectly natural and healthy biological reaction to being in a predatory environment. And the system instantly tells you, shame on you, you're lowering your vibration. This is your fault.
It's brilliant in a completely twisted way. It makes the inmate police their own emotions. If you feel bad about being in prison, it's your own damn fault.
Now contrast this with the Gnostic view again. The Gnostics said fear is archontic control. It's imposed from the outside. The archons, the jailers, they feed on fear. It's not your fault for feeling it. It's an external broadcast you're picking up on.
And the Stoics, too. They didn't say don't feel fear or fear is an illusion. They said conquer it. Virtue is acting with courage, despite the fear. They never saw fear as a spiritual sin, just as an obstacle to be vaulted over.
Then you have Node 14. Regret. This is the idea of post-death unforgettable pain. You know, the life review. The belief that when you die, you will be forced to review your entire life and feel the pain of every single person you ever hurt.
This is dread compliance.
Yeah.
You behave yourself now to avoid that terrible pain later. It's literally the threat of hell, just repackaged for the modern spiritualist. It's not God judging you, it's you judging you.
Which is so much worse. It creates an integrity trap. It forces the soul to police itself at all times. Ooh, I better not speak my mind. I better not cause any conflict because I don't want to feel bad about it in my life review.
It creates a population of passive, docile, conflict-avoidant souls. Preemptive compliance. You don't even need a guard in the tower if the prisoner is terrified of their own future conscience.
And finally, in this segment on levers, we have Node 13, the body as technology. The idea of the body as reprogrammable soul technology.
I call this the mastery illusion.
Yeah.
It's biohacking, DNA activation, all of it. The idea that if we can just tune the instrument perfectly, we win the game. If I just eat enough organic kale and do enough ice baths, I'll ascend.
But the body is the prison suit. You can tailor the suit, you can put cool racing stripes on it, you can make it run a bit faster, but you are still wearing the uniform of the inmate.
And it diverts you from even thinking about escaping the prison because you're too busy trying to upgrade your cell.
It's a sunk cost fallacy. The more time and energy you pour into perfecting the body, the more attached you become to the material realm itself.
Okay, this is a lot. So we're confused by the math, we're emotionally manipulated by love and fear, and we're constantly blaming ourselves for everything. But eventually, we die. The body fails, the prison suit rots away. So how do they keep us coming back for more?
This is the most critical part of the entire system. Segment 4, the ultimate trap. The lures of reincarnation.
This is the real heavy lifting. This is how the farm stays in business, generation after generation. And it all starts with Node 4, the veil of forgetfulness.
The concept is sold to us as a good thing. We forget our past lives so we can have a fresh start, or for the purpose of gradual divinity remembering.
But the verdict in this analysis is crystal clear. It is reincarnation bait.
Just think about the logic of it for a second. They tell us Earth is a school. Okay, fine. Let's play that out. Imagine you go to a university. You pay a massive tuition. You sign up for Algebra 101. It's incredibly difficult. You study hard, but you fail the final exam.
Okay, so I have to retake the class. That seems fair.
Right. But imagine that before you're allowed to walk back into the classroom for the second semester, the dean of admissions meets you at the door, hits you squarely in the head with a shovel, and completely wipes your memory of ever having taken the class before.
Well, that makes the class completely pointless.
Ah.
I can't possibly learn from my mistakes if I don't remember making them.
Exactly. It's not a school, it's a memory wipe. If you can't remember the lesson, then the suffering was for nothing. You are just doomed to repeat the same trauma over and over again without any of the supposed growth.
The Gnostics call this archontic amnesia. They believe the forgetfulness was intentionally imposed specifically to ensure the cycle repeats. They argue that if you remembered how painful and ultimately pointless the last lifetime was, you would never, ever agree to come back.
Which brings us directly to Note 8, death as homecoming. The celebratory home return, the tunnel of light, seeing your dead relatives greeting you with open arms.
This is the lure. It normalizes the cycle. It makes the moment of death feel like a reward, like a graduation, rather than what it might actually be, a system reset.
I call it the intergalactic casino model.
Okay, go on. I like this analogy.
Imagine you've been on the casino floor for 80 long years. You're exhausted. You've lost all your money, your life force, your energy. You're dehydrated. You're stressed out. You're completely broken. You finally decide, that's it, I'm leaving, and you head for the exit. But just as you get to the door, the casino manager, dressed in a beautiful suit of light, stops you.
And what does he say?
He puts a loving arm around you and says, "Hey, buddy, you look absolutely exhausted. Why don't you come on up to the penthouse suite? It's on the house. We've got a beautiful buffet up there, soft beds. Your dear old grandma's up there waiting for you with a fresh-baked pie."
So you go up, you rest, you recharge, you feel amazing.
You feel loved. You feel like you're finally at home. But why is the casino doing that for you?
So you don't leave the building.
Exactly. They harvest your hope. They let you rest just long enough to make you feel like you can go back down to the tables and win this time. You start telling yourself, next time will be different. Next time I'll be rich. Next time I'll find true love.
And that leads right to the signing of the new contract, Note 11. The voluntary choice.
Yeah.
This is the idea that we actively choose to come back. Reincarnation as a voluntary experience choice.
This is the conclusion that seals the deal. It is by far the most insidious part of the whole trap.
Because it creates this massive glaring paradox. If the veil of forgetfulness exists, which is Node 4, then how can the choice to return possibly be considered truly voluntary or informed?
It can't. It's a contradiction in terms. Informed consent requires, well, Information. If your memory has been wiped and you're being aggressively love-bombed in the homecoming penthouse suite, you are signing a contract under extreme duress and, frankly, intoxication.
It's a voluntary facade. It's designed to close the coercion loopholes. If the system just forced you back against your will, that would be a clear violation of free will, which, for some strange reason, the system seems to need to respect on some fundamental level.
But if they can trick you into asking to come back?
Oh, I have to go back and help my mother. I have to go back and finish my soul's mission.
I have to go back and balance my karma.
Karma, which is totally debunked by this model as a choice contradiction. You can't balance a karmic scale that you can't see or remember.
And finally, Node 15. The thing that keeps us hoping for a better future within the prison system. Future disclosures. The constant promise of ETs, free energy technology, and a collective awakening that's just around the corner.
It's the ultimate carrot on a stick. Just hang on a little longer. The good aliens are coming to save us. The med beds are about to be released. The good guys are secretly in control.
This is the Paradise Promise, and its primary function is to harvest hope for a future heaven on earth.
And in doing so, it delays any meaningful action in the present.
Exactly. It's a mass pacification strategy. If you are sitting on your couch just waiting for the Galactic Federation of Light to land on the White House lawn and arrest all the bad guys, you are not doing the hard inner work of dismantling your own mental prison. You're waiting for a savior. And in this system, saviors are just another layer of management.
It makes you tolerate the intolerable conditions of the present moment because you're convinced it's all about to change any day now. Spoiler alert. It's been about to change for thousands of years.
So, there it is. We have mapped the prison, the axioms that create the false reality, the bafflements that distract the mind, the levers that manipulate the emotions, and the lures that ensure we keep coming back. It's a perfect machine.
It feels perfect. It feels airtight. And honestly, this is bleak. If this model is even remotely true, we are rats in a maze that extends into the afterlife. So what do? Machines can be broken. Let's get to segment 5, rebellious synthesis, the exit protocol.
How do we actually get out? The source material offers a very clear strategic prioritization.
We have to pick our targets carefully. The plan derived from this analysis is ruthless. And priority number 1 is dismantle node 2, the sovereignty illusion.
I start there. Why is that the most important one?
Because if you can fully accept that you are not the all-powerful dictator of the universe, then all the guilt vanishes. Instantly. If you realize you're a hostage, you stop blaming yourself for the hostage situation. You stop trying to manifest better prison food, and you start planning a jailbreak.
It shifts your entire mindset from maintenance to escape.
Exactly. And priority number 2, dismantle node 15, the promise of future disclosures. Just stop waiting.
Stop looking at the sky. Stop refreshing the news feed. You have to realize that no one is coming to save you. That sounds terribly bleak, I know, but it's actually incredibly empowering. It forces you to start externalizing your power and look at your immediate reality. It forces you to take back your own agency.
Okay, so once we've done that, how do we synthesize the tools? We've been mentioning Gnosticism, Advaita, Stoicism.
Yeah.
How do we combine them into a blowtorch to cut through the bars?
This is what the analysis calls the heretical synthesis. You take the best weapons from each of these forbidden schools of thought.
So from Gnosticism, what do we take?
From Gnosticism, we take the framework of identification. We recognize the archontic or predatory nature of the system. We accept that the environment is hostile, and we stop pretending it's a loving school.
From Advaita.
From Advaita, we take the tool to dissolve duality. We simply refuse to play the game of opposites. We realize that the story of good versus evil, love versus fear, is all Maya. It's an illusion. We disengage from the drama.
Okay. And Stoicism.
From Stoicism, we embrace amor fati, a love of one's fate, but not in a passive, accepting way. It's a defiant refusal to be emotionally harvested. The Stoic says, you can hurt my body, you can imprison me, but you cannot make me afraid. You cannot make me feel guilty. It's about building an impenetrable emotional shield.
And what about something more modern, like chaos magic?
From chaos magic, we take the principle of will shaping. We start to view belief as a tool, not as a truth. We learn to burn our paradigms. We realize that if reality is a construct, we can reject the official narrative. We don't have to agree to the rules of the game.
And finally, anarcho-primitivism.
From anarcho-primitivism, we reject the hierarchy entirely. We stop looking for ascended masters or higher dimensions or saviors. We look for the raw, unmediated, authentic essence of our own existence. We simplify everything.
So what is the final detonation? What's the one action that blows the whole thing up?
It all comes down to a single principle: consent. The entire system, the entire harvest, relies on your agreement. It needs you to agree that you're guilty. It needs you to agree that you have lessons to learn. It needs you to agree to come back for another round.
So the argument is there is no harvestable frequency without consent.
Exactly. So the exit protocol is incredibly simple in concept, but unbelievably hard in practice. Refuse.
Refuse the lures. So when that tunnel of light appears after death, you turn around and walk the other way.
When the so-called beings of light or your dead relatives show up and offer you a chance to come back and save the world, you say no, thank you, but no.
When you feel the pull of that intoxicating unconditional love, you see it for the lure that it is, and you reject it.
You burn the cycles. You reclaim what this analysis calls non-negotiable sovereignty. Not the false sovereignty of a dictator god who creates reality, but the true sovereignty of a being who looks the system in the eye and says, I am not food, I am not a student, I am free, and I am leaving.
Refuse to feed the machine. See the trap for what it is.
The ultimate deception was always externalized sovereignty, convincing us that power was out there, or in the future, or in the next life. The resolution is not in the next lifetime. It is in the absolute refusal of the cycle. Right here, right now.
This is heavy stuff. It really changes everything. It means that a true spiritual practice isn't about adding things, not more crystals or mantras or beliefs. It's about subtraction. It's about deconstruction.
It's about stripping away all the layers of paint until you can finally see the bars. And then maybe walking right through them because you finally realize they were only ever made of your own consent.
And that's our deep dive for this week.
Remember, the most dangerous illusion is the one you don't know you're in.
But now you know. So here's our question for you. Knowing what you know now, what's one small, rebellious act you can do this week to reclaim a tiny piece of your own cognition?
Is it saying no to an emotional guilt trip? Is it consciously ignoring a sensational news story designed to harvest your fear? Is it maybe just sitting in silence and refusing to manifest a single thing?
Let us know in the comments. Question the narrative. Deconstruct the dogma. See the system.
We'll see you next time. Stay skeptical.
Thank you for joining us.